listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I'm your host, Barnabas.
And I'm your co-host, Samael. Welcome to episode 69, Midsummer Madness.
That's right.
69! Sorry, I had to be very,
of course,
very douchey right there. 69!
No, I get it. 69! It is a special episode here at Grave Discussions this week because we are going to be covering probably one of, if not the most hyped movie of the year, maybe It, Chapter 2, but we're going to be talking, of course, about Midsommar.
We just saw it over the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like I was in that theater for hours, not physically, but mentally.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you guys have already seen it, you'll know what we're talking about, and if you haven't seen it, then stick around. We're going to be discussing it in our main segment just a little bit later on in the episode. But first, of course, we have to give a shout out to our gracious host network, Sports Radio Detroit.
Yes, and you can find them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. That's SRD Sports Radio Detroit, not Detroit Sports Radio.
Exactly. So, guys, we do just have a very quick sponsored break as well. So, stick around. We'll be back very soon. Here at Grave Discussions, we know that addiction can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Detox Helpline help you break your addiction to drugs and alcohol. Call the addiction specialist now at the Detox and Treatment Helpline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They're always available for you, and if you have private insurance, they specialize in finding you the right treatment. Give them a call at 1-800-213-9257. That is 800-213-9257.
All right, so just like the beginning of every Grave Discussions episode, we're going to catch you guys up to speed with what's been going on in the world of horror over the past several days. The biggest announcement was, of course, the Chris Rock produced Saw movie officially has its stars. I'm not sure if he's going to be like the main star, but Chris Rock himself is confirmed to actually be starring in the film along with Samuel L. Jackson.
Motherfucker.
Yes. So that's pretty interesting news. Of course, not something I think that anybody expected, but how do you feel about it, Sam? Real quick.
I'm pretty excited, and it's being released around Halloween time, just like the original was in October. So I'm pretty pumped. I'm excited to see what Chris Rock is going to put out. Different spin on it. I'm kind of sick of seeing "Hello, Jim" like in every fucking...
Even though he's a comedian, like we saw what Jordan Peele can do, it doesn't mean that he's not a, creative visionary, or it doesn't mean that he doesn't love horror.
A lot of people love horror.
Yeah.
People you wouldn't expect.
Exactly.
Schwarzenegger.
LeBron.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to give it a shot for sure. Given his track record of movies, I don't know if I'm like super excited about, the quality of it as far as horror goes, but yeah, he could totally have a fresh take on it.
I think so.
And I don't think that it's going to be a pure like reboot, so he's going to be carrying on the story of Jigsaw supposedly. So yeah, I'm excited to see what new stuff he brings.
Same.
So this next article is about another series now that's getting kind of rebooted or reimagined. Stephen King's The Stand is going to be coming to CBS All Access, and another interesting cast member being announced now.
Right, and it's going to be a 10-episode thing, and it's going to have James Marsden, Amber Heard, Whoopi Goldberg, Greg Kinnear, Odessa Young, Henry Zaga, and Marilyn Manson.
Oh, yeah.
What?
The evil king of emo rock and roll himself is coming to this. I'm not like super surprised by it. He has been in other films before,
He has.
but mostly just in like
You wouldn't recognize him though.
yeah, in like cameo roles, and yeah, mostly without like the makeup and stuff. So I'm assuming it's going to be kind of the same thing here. I just wonder if he's going to have a bigger part or if it's going to be another like cameo appearance. He's also going to be supplying a track to the series as well. Him and Shooter Jennings with a cover of The End by The Doors. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty badass. I think it's gonna do good. Usually everything Stephen King related is decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and CBS All Access has had pretty good success so far with like the Twilight Zone and stuff. So, I mean, I think it's got a real shot.
I agree.
So this next one though, we had some
Stupid.
mixed feelings about.
So, okay. Let me just say it real quick. All right, Orion is partnering with id producer to turn the viral Momo challenge hoax into a horror movie. Great. Let's just capitalize on some shit. Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
First Slenderman and all this crap.
I was like 100% positive that this was going to happen. And actually, there's already another movie in the works.
The Getaway.
Yeah, called The Getaway by Lilton Stewart III. But now, id producer Roy Lee and his Vertigo Entertainment and producer Taka Ichize are coming out with another Momo video. I mean, I have no idea what it's going to be about. This is pretty much just an announcement. I mean, I don't know. The sculpture thing is creepy, but if they really just kind of make it all about that and just use a bunch of CGI, which they're liable to do, then it'll just be another Slender Man, most likely.
Oh, yeah. I think it's definitely going to be. I'm calling it's going to be trash.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have super high hopes for it, but some people were excited, so that's happening. So, guys, we do have just a few trailers to round out the news here, and then we'll get into our first official segment. So, the first one is a remake of a David Cronenberg classic that I feel like is often actually overlooked as far as like his filmography goes, but this one is going to be Rabid, directed by the Saska sisters.
And it does not look bad at all. It looks interesting. The only thing is like the cinematography looks kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess they did that on purpose to make it seem more erratic, but this chick gets into this accident or whatever. Her face is like, she doesn't have like a left cheek.
Yeah.
So then she uses like stem cells and gets rabies. And then everyone gets rabies. That's the gist of it.
I don't know how close to the original premise this is, like to the T. I've still never seen the original actually, but
No, I haven't.
yeah. But I mean the concept is pretty cool. It's something that's been I think played around with in like zombie movies or like mutant movies or whatever a few times, but overall the premise is cool, especially with like, you know, taking on another person's skin or whatever, and it causes you to go through some changes and shit. It's right up the Saska sisters alley too. The trailer looks like some shit from like the mid 2000s, like one of those low budget horror movies.
Yeah.
You know, but that's kind of what they're known for, I guess, with like American Mary and stuff. Like the cinematography is never that great, but it's kind of like that sleazier sort of B horror. It's cool that they're tackling this movie though, I guess. Again, I've never seen the original, so I don't have any stake in it. But yeah, you know, another zombie movie kind of.
More like 28 days later.
Yeah. I'm still kind of excited to check it out. It's coming out August at Fright Fest. So once we have a more like wide release date, we'll let you guys know. The next one actually looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. This is the one out of the three, I'm most excited for this one.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell them what it is, Sam?
This one's called The Wretched. So the mom kills whatever the hell it was, like a boar or something. And then I didn't really like grasp what it was fully about, but all of a sudden I see like monsters and like they're harassing like the neighbors, and people are like, those people are fucking crazy. You know, there's something wrong with them. And then there's like just like a fucking demon thing sitting at a baby's crib that was caught on camera.
Yeah.
And it looks fucking wild. I don't even know what the hell is going on. That's how you know it's going to be good. It's just a whole bunch of fucking scary looking demonic things, creatures, whatever the fuck they are.
From what I gathered reading the description and stuff, it's going to be kind of like some blend of demonic shit and witchcraft.
Yeah, I saw like the
etc.
photo of the witch that was drawn in the
Yeah,
trailer. So
it's pretty cool. I'm never opposed to seeing like witch or cult stuff in like a suburban residence. It's classic. It's a little overdone, but this one actually looks cool. I don't know how generic it's going to be, but the actual atmosphere and like the practical effects all look dope to me. So I am very excited for this one. It's coming out, I think, at the end of July at Fantasia Film Festival. All of the movies in the trailers today are all like festival movies. For now, there hasn't been like a wide released like trailer announcement, but yeah, if you go to Fantasia, check it out. This next one also coming out at Fantasia Film Festival, but this one's a little bit different. So the last trailer is for what I think is a continuation of The Ring, and it's called Sadako.
yeah, and it's supposed to be this. I guess it's a sequel to The Ring, because why would Japanese remake movies? They know better than that.
Yeah.
And honestly, nothing really special about it. I mean, I watched the first three, and they were all kind of the same. The first one had its like impact, and it was great. Then the other two were just like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like the Japanese version of the American Rings to me, except maybe without all the techie like chain letter sort of stuff. I mean, that's a staple of the series anyway, but this one kind of gives me those vibes for some reason. It'll probably still be better, but yeah, it doesn't look like anything too crazy original. It's really just, hey, this person went into some old abandoned, what was it, burned down warehouse or building or something.
yeah.
And Sadako shows up, and then the video thing happens, and it follows this woman who apparently knows Sadako. I mean, it seems like it's a new story, but at the same time, it's still The Ring, and you can only kind of see that stuff in The Ring so many times before it just gets kind of, too familiar. That's kind of how I feel about this movie, but it looks okay. The trailer is not that good itself.
No. Especially with that music that came on, like that upbeat, like Japanese anime music that was just very misplaced.
Yeah, that was a little unpleasant, unfortunately. But yeah, check out the trailer if you guys want. Once we have more info about the actual wide release, we'll let you know. But we are going to move on into our first segment of the episode. And in this one, we're going to look at a classic film. And this one has some relation to Midsommar. And we're going to be discussing it in The Cult Corner. And in this week's Cult Corner Fiends, we have a movie that a lot of people have been comparing to Ari Aster's follow-up to Hereditary. And this one is The Wicker Man, but not the one with Nicolas Cage.
No.
Not the bees, but actually the 1973 original Wicker Man, directed by Robin Hardy. So right off the bat, I just saw this movie for the first time recently. I don't know when the first time you saw it was.
Probably like 10 years old when I first saw it.
Okay.
I learned about it from 100 Scariest Movie Moments on Bravo, I think it was. And then I watched it after that, and I was like, damn, this movie's fucked up.
Yeah. Didn't Spike TV have one of those things?
I think they might have, yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just thought of that randomly. I feel like I've seen it on there before. But yeah, I've always heard about this movie. I've just never actually sat down and watched it. Obviously, I knew about, the giant Wicker Man thing at the end.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't know what else to expect for the rest of the movie. And I can definitely see the comparisons to Midsommar, which, well, we're going to talk about all that, but the general kind of themes and motifs and everything are actually pretty consistent between the movies.
Yeah.
And it has that, I would say this movie has actually less of like a folk horror kind of vibe to it. It's more of like a mystery movie, but there's definitely some of that. It's just more kind of realistic almost, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think that's largely due to just like the 70s like cinema, aesthetic.
And there wasn't a focus on drugs in this movie either.
Yeah, right. This one was actually a lot more like religious and philosophical and stuff.
Yeah.
And like moralistic almost than Midsummer, because it explored the main character, Sergeant Howie, who is like a deeply Christian
Virgin.
it was a deeply Christian man, and he comes to this island where everybody is essentially a pagan,
He
for
was
lack of
kind
a
of
better term.
freaked out by that.
Yeah, and he wasn't having it at all. But he shows up on the search for a missing girl, actually,
Mm-hmm.
who was reported to him by a mysterious stranger, and yeah, he basically spends the rest of the movie kind of trying to figure out what's going on. And then he learns that everybody on this island is a lot different than him, and they have some weird beliefs.
Oh yeah, they all pretended they had no recollection of her, and then he started doing more like more spying. He went to like the school or whatever the fuck that was,
Yeah,
and then like he saw her name in like the records, and then like he ended up finding her and trying to like sneak her out. They ended up getting caught, but like she wasn't hesitant, to like go back. She was like kind of like, oh yeah, my people, this and that, and then turns out she was not. He thought she was gonna end up being the sacrifice.
right. Yeah,
But it turns out he was the virgin and all that stuff, all that good stuff. Haha, plot twist.
yeah.
And then like, cause they've had like some bad shit happen with their crops and stuff. Everything was dead. And then so they decided this is the guy they got to sacrifice. This is what they've been planning from the beginning. That's why they contacted him, which I don't know how anyone would know this man is like a virgin or whatever the
Right.
fuck. But that's what happened. And this movie was not as unsettling as Midsommar. This one had more of like a, what the fuck is going on, and like it doesn't drag at all, but like little by little it lets you unwrap like what the hell is going on, or let you think you're unwrapping. You're thinking you're unwrapping the story, and that this girl's gone missing because like she was gonna be like the sacrifice, and turns out that is the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, no, the unraveling story actually was interesting to me. I think they did a good job of setting up the mystery, exploring it, giving us little hints here and there, but largely leaving it kind of for us and the main character to figure out together, which was cool. I think the actual structure of the story, as he sort of begins to figure out what the hell's going on, is solid. And the nice thing is that we still end up not really knowing what the fuck's going on. We can probably guess that, it's him, and that they're plotting something and that something weird's going on. But
maybe if you watched this in the 70s, you wouldn't figure that out.
Yeah,
because there wasn't many movies with that like setup. This guy's like like Shutter Island, for example. Like it had like the similar kind of what's going on, and haha, it's you. Like
now it feels kind of familiar for sure.
Oh yeah,
Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, this movie kind of resembles Children of the Corn for me.
yeah.
Sort of.
Dude,
I don't know.
I haven't watched that in years.
It's been a while for me too. Yeah, but just the kind of religious atmosphere, I guess, to me sort of feels similar. And then obviously there's like that sacrifice and stuff at the end as well.
Yeah, I can see it.
So kind of, it's not exactly the same, but yeah, this movie I thought was going to be a lot more disturbing and stuff as well. I don't even know if it was in the 70s. I mean, if you put yourself in the shoes of Sergeant Howie,
Then it's terrifying. Yeah.
then absolutely, not only because of that, but because your whole like faith is being questioned too. So he's just like extremely emotionally, mentally distraught as the film progresses, like more and more, and
yeah, but he told
I think
that
that was
dude
good.
like, yo, just because you sacrifice someone doesn't mean your crops are gonna grow. It's dead.
Yeah.
It's dead land, and when this doesn't work, your people are gonna turn and sacrifice you.
Yeah, but you know what? Hey, that's what they believe. He obviously believes something different. And as a non-Christian person, I couldn't help but dislike him in this movie.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I didn't side with like the pagans or anything like
No,
that either.
fuck both of them.
Yeah, but the whole time I was going like, well, hey, maybe if you weren't so close-minded,
Yeah.
then none of this would happen, and you can actually accept things. From the beginning, he didn't know that they sacrificed people.
No, fuck no.
They just looked kind of like normal people. Yeah, they probably weren't super welcoming to strangers, but he was very antagonistic the entire time as well. And at some point, he was even like only thing I care about is the law, or something like that. I'm just paraphrasing, and it was obvious that that wasn't all that was important to him.
No.
He was also really focused on his faith being attacked.
Oh, yeah.
So
another thing I liked about this movie is, like, it has that 70s feel, especially with the script and, like, how they talk and everything, and
yeah,
how he looked, you know, and, like,
the score.
even his, like his word choice, the little, I don't want to call it an accent, but it's still an accent. You know, he had that certain.
Yeah, he's like British.
Yeah, he had that certain, like, 70s vibe to him, you know?
Yeah.
As opposed to Nicolas Cage in, like, the remake.
The bees. Yeah. No, I get it. The way that they acted and everything, definitely, for me, like, I just knew that it was the 70s.
Oh, yeah, you could tell, like, right off the bat, honestly. As soon as the movie starts with how everything looks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the cinematography, just the way the camera moves is very...
subtle.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's very distinctive of the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
The editing style as well. Everything is very brightly lit. And, you know, this is another movie where we really don't see much of the nighttime.
Yeah.
Probably one of the first horror movies really like that, at least in color, I suppose. But the score, all the upbeat music, it was a lot of, like, those, like, traditional Scottish songs or whatever, I think. But all of that stuff took me out of the horror element and put me more into, like, oh, this is more of a weird mystery movie element. But yeah, I think the 70s vibe is just kind of difficult sometimes to actually make scary, but that's not what they were going for.
I think the horror part is actually horror for any, like, non-pagans, because every other religion fears every other religion and thinks they're, like, Satan worshippers or, like, Baal worshippers and all that stuff. So, like, for Christians and for anyone else of the Abrahamic faiths, this movie is pretty, like, unsettling because, like I said, they're not too like you said, they're not too open-minded.
Right, yeah. No, I can definitely see that for sure. To me, it was just a good kind of story, but even then, like, it felt more like how you would encounter it in real life, I guess. Yeah, it wasn't extremely exaggerated. Like, you didn't just see, you know, vaginas out and all that kind of weird. I mean, you did, but it wasn't not like in Midsommar.
There's dicks everywhere.
Yeah. So it wasn't like that at all. Like, it wasn't extreme. It seemed almost normal. And there weren't too many of those actual shots or scenes where something, like, really fucked up or disturbing was going on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the vibe was there, but it wasn't as unsettling.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the air was thick in this movie like it was in Midsommar.
Right.
It didn't feel like you were experiencing this movie. You know what I mean? Because Midsommar was an experience. This was like a what's going on type of Sherlock Holmesy mystery thing.
Yeah. This almost kind of had the, like, sort of the vibe and pacing to me of, like, a Hitchcock movie a little bit. I don't know. I'm just thinking about some of the stuff that he's done in, like, the daytime. But
was it Rear Window mostly in the daytime?
It was kind of half and half. But something like North by Northwest.
It's been a long time for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
The Birds,
yeah, kind of. And, you know, that was set in, like, the kind of like the countryside or, like, rural areas. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of felt like that to me. But ultimately, not quite what I was expecting. But a good movie, great acting.
Oh yeah, the acting was superb.
Christopher Lee, of course, was awesome.
One of the goats.
Yeah. And he plays a great villain. So, I mean, he was, I guess, a villain in this movie just because of his position relevant to, like, the main character. But
yeah. But other than that, it was just kind of like, hey, you know, this is what we do here.
Yeah, like, why are you on our island?
Yeah.
Fucking go away.
Or come here and let us set you ablaze.
Right.
That was the most disturbing part, honestly.
Yeah.
He was, like, saying that prayer and, like, cursing them and shit. So.
I mean, that was definitely the standout moment of the movie to me. It did kind of feel like I was really only watching this movie to get to that part.
Yeah.
But
it's really what it is.
I mean, I guess it was worth it. You know, I wasn't, like, disappointed with it. It wasn't, like, as impactful as I thought it was going to be. But I definitely understand why people like this movie and revere it.
And I thought it was decently paced as well.
Yeah, it was.
It didn't like drag on, or it didn't have like too many unnecessary moments. Everything was like, not everything was clear cut. You had to like kind of figure it out. But like I said, this movie lets you think you're figuring it out. Like,
Mhm.
oh, they're about to sacrifice this girl, and he's going checking the school, and like, oh shit, his suspicions were right. And then it's like, boom, no.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, there's there's an hour and 27-minute long version, which is the one I watched. Apparently, there's also a longer version,
Oh
which is like an
shit.
hour and 40 something minutes, I think. So I think there are just really some added scenes. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, if you guys have seen the longer version, let us know what's different about it and if you like it better than the original cut. But I think that this is a good opportunity to move into a review of Midsummer, which, like we've been alluding to, a lot crazier and more disturbing than The Wicker Man. And we're going to be talking about it in this next segment right after this sponsored break.
Do you love pop culture? Discussions about pop culture? Ranking and rating treasured pieces of that shared culture against each other?
I do think Flea's a good bass player. He does what he does very well. And like I said, he's like a rock star, He's eccentric. And what is so funny?
I just didn't know he talked so long about Flea. I didn't know anybody had so many feelings.
I do.
So many
I got
feelings.
feelings. Yeah.
Music, movies, television, food, sports, pro wrestling. We are the determination of what is over or underrated across all fields of greater cultural consumption. Subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts and Podbean, or visit us at sportsradiodetroit.com. Over Under Fair, your final word in pop cultural relevance.
Hey, Samael.
Hey Barnabas, what's up?
Oh, not much. Have you ever written a book?
No, but I've written a musical.
Oh, well, you can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company.
Aha, I hear countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their books to the market.
Their professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, their authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books.
So, make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Do not wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author.
And seeing your name in print.
Aha! You've already written a book. Next thing to do is make this free call now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
The number is 1-800-213-9259. Again, 1-800-213-9259. Welcome back to the main segment, folks. Today we are going to be discussing Midsommar. And I did say that it was probably like one of the most hyped up movies of the year, if not the most hype. I still think that's probably true and probably going to still be true. I mean, look at Hereditary. But the movie actually didn't perform super great at the box office. There are a lot of other movies that came out, but I think it's the movie that definitely has left the biggest impact on me. So let's talk about it. We're going to give a spoiler-free review, at least for the main episode, because we have a lot of people who probably haven't seen the movie yet, and they'd like to know if it's worth checking out. But we are going to be giving a full review as well, and you'll be able to check that out on the Grave Discussions website. That's gravediscussions.net. So after you finish listening to the episode, if you want to go check out the spoilerific review, please go do so. And we'll link it and everything too. But yeah, let's start off right off the bat. What were you expecting from the movie, Samael? And how did you end up liking it? Did it meet your expectations?
I think it exceeded my expectations because I thought like a bunch of kids were going to go on a vacation and participate in some ritual that they didn't know they were participating in. From the trailer, I thought they were going to get drugged, which did happen. And I thought they were going to like all get tricked into like being sacrificed and for like the crops to grow, the typical like pagan shit. And it was far from what I thought, honestly.
Yeah. I will say a lot of those things did end up having some truth.
Oh, yeah.
But there was definitely some really cool spins to it.
It was funny as fuck too at some points.
It was, yeah. I think like you even said actually after we left the showing, a lot of the humor was really quite well written because it didn't feel like it was scripted or forced, and I definitely agree with that. But the humorous elements didn't really cut into the actual atmosphere and vibe of the film, I thought.
No, it still felt very, very strange. It felt like something was in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really felt like it was like a fever dream to me.
Yeah.
and I think that was definitely the entire point. Like you mentioned, the drugs played a big part of it, and we got that pretty much throughout the entire film. If you've seen the trailer, you kind of know the basic premise, but yeah, a group of anthropology students visit one of their friends' communities in Sweden, and they take part in this Midsummer festival. And crazy shit does occur, but the main kind of focal point is that we see everything from the perspective of Danny Ardor, played by Florence Pugh, who is not an anthropologist, but goes with her boyfriend, Christian, portrayed by Jack Rayner, after a really traumatic event. I don't believe that the trailer shows what happened, and we're not going to spoil it, but something tragic happens to her, and she goes along, and it ends up being, I guess, either the biggest mistake of her life or possibly the best mistake.
I think the latter.
Okay, yeah, you guys will see what we mean, but it's a very transformative experience in more ways than one, and I think we really see that throughout the film. So I think whatever Ari Aster had in mind for this movie, as far as just like the overall film, you know, the general concept to the end of the movie, I think he met his vision, exceeded his vision, and it really like shines through, I think.
I think it did. It was fantastically shot, beautiful cinematography. They picked a beautiful location. I like the quick transition from like suburban college life to like rural ancient life. You know what I mean? Because like these people are not with the times. You know, they have their own familial unit and they operate in a certain way. So having outsiders wasn't that, I think, foreign to them. I'm assuming that the Swedish dude that was the student that brought all his friends there, I'm assuming he's done this before or something.
Yeah, we get hints of that as the movie progresses. So, I mean, already a lot of similarities, honestly, to the Wicker Man, the pagan kind of community that he experiences. Although, you know, in the Wicker Man, it was a lot more kind of contemporary. They had, you know, some like nice modern looking buildings and houses, and they dressed very modern as well. This one we don't know. It actually is like going on right in the middle pretty much of their Midsummer festival, so they have like the garb on and everything, the sort of traditional, you know, whatever clothes that they wear, and they have like kind of not like huts, but you know, it's very rustic and traditional, kind of old school kind of carpentry and etc. So you can tell right away that this community is very like detached from the outside world, sort of.
Big time.
Yeah. But yeah,
besides the fact that they have a camera.
Besides that, and yeah, besides the fact that you kind of figure like, oh, they're not that weirded out by seeing other people, you know, and also the whole like kind of mystery behind that and behind what's going on at the festival has some similarities to how the Wicker Man kind of progressed as they gradually kind of learned things about these people and about what was going on. Kind of had the same vibes to me, and I think it did that in a really good way as well. Very subtle, like stuff is there. Like if you catch things in Midsommar, you know, those things become relevant. But it's kind of easy to miss those things unless you're actually paying attention to the movie.
Yeah, like there's photos of stuff to come, like ritualistic photos of what can possibly, you know, go down during one of these, you know, Swedish pagan ritual things.
Yeah.
And like they all come into effect. Whatever picture you see, whatever anything you see, it's gonna come into full effect in the movie.
Yeah, lots of foreshadowing for sure, but I can definitely see how like kind of the casual viewer may not pick up on those things readily, but yeah, just if you guys pay attention, you'll see a lot of stuff that actually has relevance. And this is definitely a movie where you would kind of have to piece things together and use some critical thinking to sort of give connections to things, because despite the foreshadowing, the kind of overall messages that this movie's kind of dishing out are not like super explicit.
No, not at all.
You know, we're really just kind of experiencing this story from each one of the characters. Actually, I think it does a good job of not just putting us in the shoes of Danny, but also of her boyfriend and of their other friends, including Will Poulter's character. He's fucking hilarious. He's like the most like real one.
Guys, I'll be right back. She wants to show me.
Yeah, that was great. He's just very kind of blunt and open, but you know, like he's a like sarcastic humor to him, so that's pretty great. All around acting was phenomenal.
It really was,
especially from the
best
main
part.
characters. Yeah, we see kind of similar to Toni Collette's performance in Hereditary. Florence Pugh in this movie has kind of a revelatory acting role, and I think she did an awesome job.
This movie really had it really amplified like emotions. Like it was realistic too, but like with all the drugs and everything, like there was like a physical manifestation of these amplified emotions, and you saw it really in like the body language of all the characters, like during the grieving part when she saw what she saw through that keyhole. It really like brought to life the familial unity of the place.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
That was definitely a big part of it too. You know, Hereditary really was more of a centralized like family drama sort of, and like a family based horror film. Midsommar had those vibes to me, but not like Hereditary at all. You know,
No,
it was really, it was about relationships for sure. That was definitely a big part of the film, as we kind of gather from all the trailers and all the promotional marketing. Danny and Christian's relationship is a big part of this film, and I think it succeeded in telling that story for sure.
oh yeah,
I think that was very well done, and ultimately I wasn't really sure who I was rooting for in that kind of struggle, or if I should really even root for anybody, but I was really just kind of experiencing their decline, I guess. And ultimately I think it might kind of be overshadowed for people by all the crazy moments, but that's a standout part of this film for me.
that was like really the main focus, really, because like she and he, like Danny and Christian, those are like the two main people that you should pay attention to. It's not about the dude writing his thesis or about the funny dude trying to get it in and do drugs and shrooms and all that stuff. But yeah, and you kind of see, like you said, the deterioration of their relationship because of her personal problems, and then they came here to get away from all that. That's why he invited her to go with them. And honestly, if she never went, at first, you know, when they were going, he's like, oh, you know, I don't think she'll come, yada, yada, yada. I just invited her. Imagine how much different it would have been if she wasn't there.
Oh yeah. And we kind of learned that, you know, she really is kind of a central part of what is going on. But, you know, their whole relationship honestly felt pretty real to me, which was another reason why I liked it. I think it was just incredibly well written, honestly, because, you know, it didn't feel like the characters' interactions were being shown through like a film to me, you know. I mean, yeah, obviously kind of, you know, you're watching a movie, but still,
it was like real couple shit.
Yeah, the way they interacted and everything.
Like when that redhead would like touch the dude, or when he'd look at her, the way Danny would look at him and then look at her like suspiciously, you know?
Yeah.
That's real. I'm telling you, that's real.
Exactly. So, I mean, I felt that for sure. So, I really enjoyed that aspect. Honestly, as far as the actual kind of brutal or fucked up shit goes, I mean, there was a lot of it, but I don't know, for some reason I almost expected more. Like, I wasn't disappointed by it by any means, but I kind of thought it was going to delve like even more into that crazy, trippy, psychological shit. It didn't, I mean, it did do that, but it didn't do it to the effect of something like Mandy or something like that.
No, it wasn't like psychological, like we're seeing through their lens and these hallucinations, and we saw their hallucinations when they did the drugs, but it was more so of like what they're going through.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're almost being puppeteered.
Yeah.
Sort of. And it does feel like that for sure. At one point, pretty much up until the end of the movie, it's all just like one big kind of drug fuel nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's pretty consistent. It doesn't really ever let up once it really like kind of starts going.
No, it starts getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you could argue there are parts in between that sort of feel like they almost are dragging on. And at like 2.5 or something hours, I mean, I get that. But I mean, the pacing was actually pretty good because every scene like was relevant and was important.
Oh yeah, it didn't feel like it dragged. It was definitely a long movie. I knew I was at the theater for a while, but mentally I felt like I was watching that movie for like weeks. I felt like I was there and I was on the trip with them, and I was just this like outside viewpoint looking in. Like,
Yeah.
it was really an experience.
It really was, yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, I thought the movie technically was done very well. I'm so happy that they used actually little CGI ultimately
Oh yeah.
in the movie, which, you know, wasn't really that prevalent in Hereditary either. So, thank you, Ari Aster, for that. And the fact that they shot on location was awesome. I just like how genuine this movie was. You know, it really doesn't feel like anything else we've seen before, despite some of the connections to like the Wicker Man and other folk horror, but this really kind of has its own identity.
It was done like super professionally too.
Mhm.
Everything was like technically perfect with this movie, and I never say that about any other movie besides like Shutter Island. I think that's
Yeah.
another superbly done movie. Like Martin Scorsese's a genius.
Mhm.
Ari Aster's a fucking genius. Their visions really came to life,
Mhm.
like on the screen perfectly. I think just as they had envisioned.
Yeah, I think so too. And, you know, Shutter Island, a movie really kind of shrouded in darkness a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Midsummer definitely, you know, held up its promise. Like we see nighttime once or twice, very briefly, but the whole movie, as you'd expect, is pretty much basked in sunlight.
Yeah.
I have an interesting tidbit that I kind of read up on IMDb, but saying it is like almost a spoiler, so I don't want to say it exactly, but yeah, I think the movie just kind of played with all its elements really well. Now, is there anything that you didn't like about the movie or thought could have been improved?
Honestly, and this is the first time I'm saying this, no.
Okay.
I think it was perfect. There's no way it could have been improved. Anything that would have altered this movie would have just taken away from it. I think everything was like done perfectly, to like the timing of everything crazy that started happening, to like the, I don't want to spoil it, disappearances. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
To like the unraveling and the
Mhm.
climax. Like that's when everything kind of falls into place, and you're just like, oh shit, had they really planned this whole thing like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing I'll kind of mention that I like to, sort of in relation to what you just said, was kind of that I almost got some kind of classic slasher vibes from some of the movie. Not really in like what was happening, but with what wasn't happening.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll probably talk about that in our spoiler review. So be sure to go check that out. I would agree. I mean, I really think everything in this movie belonged in the movie, and I thought it was just done very, very well. And I'm still kind of processing it.
I am too, honestly. I haven't stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like every day I've thought about it. It really stuck with me.
Yeah, I think it'll stick with me for a while. And I had the same thing with Hereditary too. I almost kind of want to go see it again just to kind of take it in again and see if I like missed things, or, you know, just kind of experience it one more time and see if I feel kind of the same way. But yeah, this is a tough movie to take in for sure. I mean, even though I said, you know, I was almost expecting more craziness, it was definitely still fucked up.
Extremely.
And it'll mess with you, I think, for sure. You can argue, I guess, that it's not scary, but honestly, like, we know it's a movie, you know, but if that was happening to you for real, you'd be fucking terrified.
If you're not disturbed by this a little bit, at least, there's like, then you've just been kind of desensitized.
Yeah, I think at that point, then you're just one of those, like,
If you're one of those gore whores and you just
tough guys, yeah.
like love like torture movies, like this is not for you. All right, this is like a fucked up. This is a depressing movie. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Extremely depressing.
for sure. Yeah, because it really makes you contemplate exactly what's happening, everything that's on the screen. And yeah, it definitely depressed the fuck
It
out
seems
of me.
like a metaphor for like depression, like the whole it's
Mhm.
daylight outside, but such depressing things are actually going on, and then the ending can represent like breaking, or at least thinking you've broken out of the depression, and like you've kind of just fallen so far into it that you can't come back, but you think that's normal.
Well, I'll say this. I saw one thing that Ari Aster said, and you're pretty much on the right track. So,
Like that, the whole daylight, but there was still like crazy stuff and depressing stuff going on. That's just like depression, man. It's beautiful outside, but in your head, you're just trapped in there. You're just fucked.
yeah. Yeah, guys. I mean, that pretty much sums it up for me. I definitely recommend you go check it out if you have not. Once again, if you want to check out our spoilerific review, then be sure to check out gravediscussions.net. But we are going to move on. Next up, we have our final segment of the episode, where we're going to look at a new movie that comes to streaming services, Amazon Prime in particular with this one. And we're going to be doing that on The Chopping Block. And on this week's Chopping Block, Fiends, we have a movie that actually really doesn't have any relevance to The Wicker Man or Midsummer, but it's still a cool movie that we wanted to check out. And this
There's
one,
a spell book.
there is. That is true, actually. Though that kind of is related among all three movies. But this one is Book of Monsters, now on Amazon Prime.
For me, I was just scrolling through Amazon, just buying some new Blu-rays because I'm a junkie for Blu-rays. I'm the Blu-ray junkie.
Yeah.
And movies in general, horror movies in general, and something popped up, and while I ordered Monster Squad, and it was in the recommended, if you like Monster Squad, you might also like, it was like Book of Monsters, and I saw it was like a bloody disgusting thing or something like that, or
Dread Central.
Dread Central release.
Yep.
And I guess it takes place in the UK. I didn't know. I thought it was about to be some like American shit, so I was like, we'll see where this goes. And I picked this up, and like, we couldn't decide what movie to watch last week after the podcast, and we watched a few other new ones recently, and then saw Book of Monsters, and like me and Barnabas decided like, yo, let's check this one out. This looks like it'll be a fun movie. I expected it to be like lighthearted and stuff. No, practical effects were super gory. It was fucking crazy. It had demons, it had shapeshifters, it had genies. It was amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I saw this one through Dread Central, because I think it's like I don't know if it's their production company or if they're affiliated with it or something, but Epic Pictures, I think, is either production company or the distributor. But yeah, they were like advertising this, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. And then I checked out some more stuff about it, and it promised to kind of be like a monster party kind of movie.
Yeah.
Lots of practical effects, lots of blood spilled. So I was like, yeah, I'm into that. I love those kind of movies. They're not to be taken super seriously. They're not really meant to be extremely scary or anything.
No, it's just fun, bloody fun.
Yeah, this is a movie for us, like, creature feature fanboys.
And we haven't been seeing a lot of those.
Yeah.
Like a lot of good ones, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was like the found footage one, the Monster Project. That was pretty cool.
That one was great.
Yeah, this one though, not like a found footage movie. Really more of a narrative movie, but takes place pretty much all in this one house, which is cool. It kind of makes it more terrifying, honestly, because not only do you have to contend with one monster, but you have to contend with a bunch of monsters trying to get into the house and kill you. So it's a cool. It's not like the most unique premise, but it's a cool premise.
Yeah, it had a really basic cinematography, just casual medium shots and like the panning shots, and then but the when it would actually change and become like super brutal is during the kills. Like the camera would be focused on everything that's happening, like to the person while they're being murdered, or to the monster while it's being attacked or stabbed or chainsawed.
Yeah, lots of kind of close-up shots too, which let us see all those cool practical effects and let us see the blood gushing out. So that was cool. I appreciated all that stuff.
I really did.
I mean, I wasn't like, artistically fucking attached to this movie or anything like that, but yeah, it was really mostly about showcasing the monster costumes and all that stuff. And So that was cool. And we did see a lot of it. The movie didn't really take very long to kind of get into it, which I appreciated. You know, even from the very first scene, I think actually we get that. So, and then it kind of just jumps right into the birthday party for the main character.
And she's like this quiet, shy chick, and you know, your typical final girl, I want to say.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, she's very kind of innocent and sweet, and everybody kind of bullies her and stuff like that. So, yeah, ultimately the characters in this movie not like the most, I don't know, interesting or even captivating.
Yeah,
but they were fine. You know, this is definitely a female-centric film too. Like, largely the main characters consist of like teenage girls, which is a bit different from like, you know, the classic 80s films. Although this movie definitely had that retro element to it.
Oh yeah.
I felt like that was a kind of a cool element, and we saw that kind of female power theme through it too. But it wasn't really too much of that. It was more just about people sort of overcoming what they're afraid of and standing in the face of all this weird evil shit. So that's at least how I felt about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the highlights were definitely all the kills and everything like that.
Just the aesthetic of the monsters in general.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool when they all appeared. I kind of wasn't impressed with the djinn. I think they could have did something better with that, but
Yeah.
that Wendigo thing and the shapeshifter was probably my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I thought they did a pretty good job with most of them. Fun fact, apparently the actual monsters that were present were picked out by fans, because I think this was like a Kickstarter project or
Okay.
whatever, so it was like a crowdfunded thing. That'd be cool. I didn't get a chance to like participate in that or anything. I don't know if I would have picked the same monsters, but yeah, some of them were cool. Some of them were cooler than others, but I think that's, you know, kind of to be expected. But overall, they were all fine. There were some like twists and turns in the story that I felt were kind of just in there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know.
It wasn't like the most brilliantly written story or anything like that, but I think it kind of played to the overall tone of the film fine.
It's like basically like a Disney movie turned into a gore fest.
Yeah, kind of.
Like for the plot, at least. You know what I mean? Oh, she let, you know, all these monsters are being loosed by this shapeshifter. How do we get rid of them? And like, instead of like them just knocking over cars and like destroying houses, they're like eating people and ripping them to pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was cool. I liked the isolated setting. The music, from what I can remember, was pretty alright. The acting was okay. And so for kind of a lower budget movie, ultimately I think it did pretty well in doing what it was trying to do. And for me, it's not chopped.
No, it's not chopped either. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was bloody fun, pun intended. And honestly, I'd watch it again.
Nice.
It has that rewatchability to it, and practical effects are great. Cinematography's average. The close-up shots on the kills are great. Story's average. You know, it's really cookie cutter, but the execution is really what like did it for me and why I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I think if you guys are fans of 80s movies or just those retro style movies, if you're fans of monster movies, I think you'll enjoy this film quite a bit. I definitely feel like there will be a portion of the movie-going audience in general, especially the horror audience, that finds it a little too campy, a little too silly at times, possibly. But yeah, it's just a fun watch for sure. So it's on Amazon Prime. Go check it out, guys. Let us know what you think about it. You can reach us on all our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So check out either Grave Discussions or Gravedisc SRD on Twitter. And as we've mentioned a few times, check out gravediscussions.net, where you will be able to see the spoilerific review for Midsommar and all of our other episodes and more goodies.
Yes, and join us next week as we throw darts at leprechauns on Grave Discussions.
has been an SRD production.